Da, 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 da. Stan, here we are in the man cave in a Bundeswehr shirt. I felt I was trying to be a bit more lively. Funny camera angle. I was rough yesterday, hungover. God, unbelievably. I think I've got a bug as well. It won't be the booze. Let's get this light right. So, I thought I'd do a little redo video from my old channel. The flag of the Eureka Stockade. Now I have got notes because I did try and research this so I could do it without notes, but I can't be bothered. I'm not an actor learning me lines. You know what I mean? Right. So I will be taking a little bit of a look at this book, and this book I bought in Australia, amongst several other, and that belonged to the Wykes family. See. I bought this simply because I wanted to learn about Australian history, and I wanted to have some like hard paperwork, that makes sense, rather than looking online at the time. And this is the only one I've kept. But it's quite an interesting book for me. There are other things I'm looking at, other places that are in this book I've been to. I didn't travel all of Australia, but it was there's the original sticker on it. Grace Brothers, and for those who wouldn't be, I mean, Grace Brothers was like how you're being served over here, wasn't it? But in Australia, Grace Brothers was a big department store, a bit like how you're being served, and it became Myer or Myers, and my wife ended up working there when we lived there. So there you go, bit of a loose thing. But a few things keep coming back to me. As the world ever changes around us, I'm glad that I've visited Australia as it was in the early 90s. A different world from today. So this is the flag of the Eureka Stockade. You can see there is a painting of the incident. And what I'll do, I'll read out the short piece, then I'll go over it in my mind, and I'll refer to my notes, and I'll just see if I've missed anything. So, the located in the Ballarat goldfields in Victoria. The diggers, they're obviously the people digging for gold, the miners. And that's where the initial nickname for a digger, you've heard that in Australia, hi digger. It does refer to like First World War soldiers, but this initially came from miners. They rebelled against licence fees in 1854, rising at the Eureka Stockade has been equated to moves for more democratic representation of the colony of Victoria and eventually throughout Australia. The revolt was precipitated by discontent amongst diggers when increasing prospecting fees were announced. There was also a dissent over corruption amongst the police, who were in charge of inspecting the licences. In October 1854, diggers protested against the acquittal of a publican charged with the murder of a miner, and they burned the Eureka Hotel at Ballarat. Many of the 20,000 diggers in the area joined the Ballarat Reform League, formed with the aims of obtaining the vote for all gold diggers, the abolition of licences, and the ending of a system whereby members of the Legislative Council had to be landowners. When their demands were ignored by the government, the miners publicly burnt their licences in a huge bonfire built at the Stockade. They elected Peter Lalor as their leader. On the 3rd of December 1854, the Stockade was attacked by 300 soldiers and police, and in the following 15 minutes, 6 of the attackers and about 30 miners were killed. About 120 miners were taken prisoner, although most were soon released. The leaders were put on trial, all but one were acquitted. As a result of the rebellion, legislation was passed in 1855 which met most of the original demands of the Ballarat Reform League. A memorial stone is erected on the site of the Stockade. There you go. That was a brief little thing of the Eureka Stockade. I've written down some little notes here, which I will go back to. So this rebellion is seen as a bit of a kickstart of democratic Australia. The miners were from various parts of the world. They were English, Irish, Scots, Welsh, Canadian, Italian, Hungarian, German, French, Chinese, and of course Australian. So let's have a look. So the Peter Lalor, the leader, he escaped, and I'm not sure if it does say it in that book about him that he escaped and was later became a politician, but that's more to it than that. He escaped. He was being wounded in the arm, and through many trials and tribulations, he eventually was found staggering through a nearby farm, and he was taken in and operated on by, I'm sure, by a local priest, can't remember, but his arm had to be amputated, and they left some of the bullet in. He had to have another operation, but yeah, he lost his arm during the fight. The flag itself is of the background is Prussian blue. That is Prussian blue. Well, probably is not this one because it's a copy. That's obviously representing the Southern Cross in Australia, a bit spider webby. The original one sits in the Ballarat Art Gallery in Victoria, and little bits of the Eureka flag sometimes have been given to dignitaries and VIPs. Apparently Queen Elizabeth II had one. So there you go. I think that's it about the little bit of there. Peter Lalor was Irish, born in Ireland. And today it's a symbol of the trade unions. In fact, I don't remember it when I was there in the early 90s. I don't remember seeing it much. When me and Mrs. Stan went to Australia in 2007, I do remember seeing it. I thought, oh. And one of my friends, he's lived out there for 30 years now, and he had a government job. And when he came over to visit one day, I went, oh, recognise the flag. And he just went, oh, it's something to do with the unions, isn't it? So even though he's lived out there for most of his life now, he still didn't know. I mean, he probably isn't really that interested in history, to be honest. But in more modern times, it's become a little bit controversial. John Howard, who was the Prime Minister of Australia, can't remember exactly when it was, but he banned it from being flown from building sites. In 2008, Melbourne Victory, I think they're AFL, Aussie Rules Football, they tried to stop it being flown by the supporters, and if you were seen carrying it, you would be asked to leave the stadium. Basically, they were saying it's football's non-political and you shouldn't be waving this flag. In 2018, Government Building and Construction Commission said that any buildings that they were working on, it was a banned symbol. Some nationalists now have allegedly taken it as their symbol. There's been obviously a couple of race riots in Australia over Cronulla was one. Peter Lalor himself, the leader of the Eureka Stockade, he became a politician, and he was born in 1827. He died in 1889 in Victoria of diabetes. But in his later life, as well as being a politician, he was also a mine manager. He ran several mines, and he did use, he supported wage cuts for miners, and he did use Chinese miners as strike breakers and treat them like crap as well. So that goes to show you that he was the hero of the Eureka Stockade, but later on became exactly probably what he was fighting against. I have seen it. I was in the Australian Workers' Union when I was there in 2007, and I have seen this symbol. It's seen as a symbol of strength. The unions are very different. I would say very different. They are different from the way the UK has been over the years. It's probably there's an old saying in Australia: a fair go. If you give someone a fair chance. So I understand the symbolism. They're not the nationalist side. I don't know where. That's probably the same as maybe like the Cross of St. George getting hijacked by more nationalist groups. But it's one of those funny ones where I didn't realise that nationalist groups were taking it upon themselves. So it slightly changes what I thought. But basically, if there was a referendum on voting for keeping this flag or changing it to something else, I am an Australian citizen. I don't live there anymore. If I was living there at the time, I'd vote to keep the Union Jack, Union flag on the flag. That's just my personal opinion. I know there's a whole load of can of worms. People go, oh, it's just a personal opinion. However, if the vote was you can't have the Union flag in the corner because we're going to become a republic, I thought it's quite a good symbol of Australia simply because of the Southern Cross in the sky. As the information I heard this morning said about nationalist groups, I'm not going into that. That's just, again, my opinion. I think it's a representation of, Southern Cross. Everywhere you go on a night, you see it. Well, not every night. When it's not cloudy. Right, so it's me enough waffling on for half an hour, talking crap as always. This is Stan, and this is a reproduction copy of the flag of the Eureka Stockade, which was an armed rebellion by gold miners in 1854 against the then British government for literally trying to turn them over. So, hope you maybe learnt something. As with all my videos, I probably got something wrong. I probably missed something off. So it's more like a direction on a compass to try and find yourself a way of looking it up yourself and realising, phew, that's still on my stand. Just talks a lot of crap. And I'll see you.